What is the Plato's cave? What does it have to do with the process of freeing one's mind? Is it really something that you should know? You'll discover all this and more in this episode. Let's start with the definition. Plato's cave is an allegory, a type of story with a moral point, created by the famous Greek philosopher Plato and presented in his work Republic 2,500 years ago. This fantastic story was presented as a dialogue between the philosopher Socrates and his apprentice Glaucon concerning a group of prisoners in a fictional cave. According to the story, inside a cave, a group of prisoners were chained with their back against a short wall and immobilized in such a way that they could only see directly forward, straight to the cave's wall ahead of them. Behind them, in an elevated position, there was a fire producing some light, but between the fire and the short wall, there was another group of people, manipulating some objects and using the fire's glow to create a kind of puppet show, as their shadows were projected on the cave's wall in front of the prisoners.
"And do you see," I said, "men passing along the wall carrying all sorts of vessels and statues and figures of animals made of wood and stone and various materials, which appear over the wall. Some of them are talking, others silent."
The prisoners have been put there since childhood. They never went outside or saw what was behind them. The shadows and the voice that echoed through the cave were the only things they knew, their entire reality. One day, Socrates suggests, one prisoner could escape the chains and, as he moved behind the wall, would see the fire and the real objects for the first time. The direct light would probably be painful for him. He would simultaneously see the objects and their shadows and be confused, not knowing how to interpret all that. He would most likely take this as an illusion or vision and, afraid, return to the wall and the safety of the shadows. But something very different could happen if the prisoner was dragged by force and left outside the cave. The pain at the beginning would be unbearable, as the intense light of the sun would blind him for a long time, while the nights would be much easier.
"He will require to grow accustomed to the sight of the upper world. And first, he will see the shadows best. Next, the reflections of men and other objects in the water, and then the objects themselves. Then he will gaze upon the light of the moon and the stars and the spangled heaven, and he will see the sky and the stars by night better than the sun or the light of the sun by day. Last of all, he will be able to see the sun, and not mere reflections of him in the water, but he will see him in his own proper place and not in another, and he will contemplate him as he is."
At this point, Socrates continues, he would start to consider the outside world far superior than the cave world, and pity the other prisoners who were left behind. This feeling could impel him to return to the cave, but as soon as he entered the deep levels again, his vision would become feeble again, as his eyes were no longer used to the darkness. After finding the other prisoners and describing the incredible world outside, no one would believe him and think of his real appearance as a vision or illusion.
Men would say of him that up he went and down he came without his eyes, and that it was better not even to think of ascending, and if anyone tried to loose another and lead him up to the light, let them only catch the offender, and they would put him to death.
Well, this story reveals the power of appearances and how rigid one's mind may become. You can glance into your own past for moments when you choose not to see the truth, because it was more comfortable being in a known position, even if you're living a lie. Plato's story has also influenced many philosophers and thinkers through the centuries, and continues to do so in our pop culture today. Movies like The Matrix, The 13th Floor, The Truman Show, and others explore another essential aspect of the Plato's cave. What is real? Do you know what is real? What do you think is real? The world in front of your eyes? Let's dive more into this matter, as the answer may not be so obvious. First, we quote Morpheus from the Matrix movie.
What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain.
Morpheus' argument about real has similarities with another thought experiment philosophers invented called brain in a vat. In this experiment, you put a brain in a vat capable of sustaining its physiology and attach electrodes inside the brain connected to a supercomputer capable of simulating any sensorial inputs the brain needs. In this setup for the brain, these signals were indistinguishable from the ones that existed when the brain was inside a body. The brain will see, listen, taste, smell, and touch the same things as it was doing before. For the conscious mind inside the brain, this simulated reality could be totally believable, and it will never know that there was another world, the real world, outside that illusion. If you think hard, you can see that any formulation or hypothesis we have for the reality or the world came to our conscious mind through our senses. We never experience reality directly, only through a mental screen rendered by our mind based on sensory data. We all agree that there is probably a real world outside our minds, and we agree about its contents and how real things are represented. And this reinforces our supposition that what we see is real. But if you drop your preconceptions, you can see that you can never be totally sure, as even our idea of the brain is something we perceive only through our mind screen. Theories such as the simulation hypothesis, backed by many scientists, suggest that we live in an artificial or virtual reality created by a more advanced civilization or even by a future version of us. In this hypothesis, our society could be some kind of experiment in social dynamics or history. Starting with Plato's cave and pass through brain vat, we can see how these concepts are essential to our awakefulness process, and this is the true secret behind these stories. As you cannot precisely define reality, we must deal with approximated models. We normally use the standard materialistic view as the base of reality, mainly because it helps us to navigate and orient ourselves through it. But we must, at all costs, not be blinded by it, like the prisoners in the cave. The quest to understand reality and its models is an interesting part of the awakening process, and we shall not be fixed only in materialistic views. To conclude, science, psychology, and spirituality should be united to create more holistic and integral models that could help us to better navigate reality and be happier. In this channel, we produce our best content to help your awakening process. We discuss reality, psychology, physics, metaphysics, philosophy, spirituality, and magic, always in a way that can make sense to the rational but open minds. Check out the rest of our videos, as each one is a little piece of the jigsaw that can change your life. So remember to like, subscribe, activate the bell, and comment below. Thank you for your watching and for your time. Be open, be good, and be responsible. See you soon in another video. Bye.